Hi, everybody. My name is Heather Aston, and this is my YouTube channel, TT's Trinkets and Treasures. If you are a new viewer, let me say welcome to you. I hope that you find this video informative and entertaining enough to want to subscribe to my channel and change your notifications to all so you don't miss any future videos that I release. If you're a return video viewer, okay, I'm not starting this over for a fourth time. I've done that exact same thing 3 times now. This was the fourth or third. I'm good. We're going to go on. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. I really appreciate your continued support. You helped keep the channel going. Your comments inspire me. Your requests give me new ideas, and I just appreciate each of you. Okay, I am in the middle of a 28-day challenge, which is 4 weeks leading up to Father's Day, and it is to create a piece of men's jewelry every single day between the start date and Father's Day. I get a lot of requests for men's jewelry, and a lot of times I hear I just don't know what to make. And it's not just from newer sorry, I've got a smudge on my glasses. It's not just from like beginners or anything else. I hear it from a lot of content creators as well that they just have a hard time. Men's jewelry doesn't come naturally to them. So they haven't been, so they don't design a lot. I, on the other hand, love making men's jewelry. I also want to help demystify that women's jewelry and men's jewelry is so different because oftentimes it's a simple difference as changing the spacer bead that you use from a faceted spinel to buffalo horn or a wood bead or whatever else, or changing a pearl to a gemstone. Something like that completely changes the look. And I find that there are a lot of niches within the jewelry world that can be translated into men's designs as easily as women's designs. So I'm hoping that not only will you learn a bunch of new techniques and have a bunch of inspiration to get you going on men's jewelry, but I also hope that it gives you the courage to reach out and try new things. So I recently did a video showing you how to do the alternating half hitch knot, and we made a bracelet with it, and I may have used it on other projects. Today, I'm going to teach you the alternating hitch knot. It's the exact same thing. You just do twice as many knots before going to the other side or the other piece of leather. So it's essentially the same. Once you know how to do the alternating half hitch knot, you can do so many different things. You can add beads. You can do, like I said, we're going to do 2 different tones of leather today. I like the differentiating factors of using 2 shades of leather because maybe you have dress shoes and or belts that are difficult to match to. If you use two different color leathers that are within the same color family as what you're wearing, it gives you a little bit more freedom that it doesn't have to be exactly matchy. So I will tell you, I use almost exclusively Leather Cord USA leather. I prefer to get it in matte or natural finish. The reason being twofold. The shine of leather doesn't really do it for me. I don't like the look as much. And two, the stuff that they use that makes it shiny makes it harder to keep a knot. If it's shiny, the knot's going to slip out a lot easier because it doesn't have as much grip to it. So let's go down to the mat and I'll show you what we're working with and we'll get started. So here are the 2 shades of brown we're going to use. One is more of a reddish brown, while the other one is a really dark walnut brown, and it's absolutely beautiful. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of what I was talking about, in case you don't know what I mean about the finishes of leather, as you can see right here, the purple is very shiny. It has a completely different texture. Sorry, I'm trying to get that out of there. Excuse. It has a different texture. It has a different feel. It's just not as nice. And in case you're watching this at night and you want to throw in a little fun, every time I say the word not, N-O-T, during this knotting, K-N-O-T-T-I-N-G project, you can take a drink because I seem to become hyper aware of how often I say it during these videos. So we are starting with 2mm leather, and we are going to do this a little bit different. I've already done this bracelet in the 1.5-inch leather. And the way I finished it is what the difference is going to be. Here, I kept both leather all the way till the end through the adjustable silicone tube beads, and kept both of them. What we're going to do with this one is I'm going to use the darker color of the leather as what we're going to use to create the adjustability of our bracelet when we're done. And then I'm going to use the lighter brown to do the start and finishing part of the barrel knot at the beginning and end of the bracelet to give it a little bit of continuity. Now, I'm going to still macrame and knot enough of this leather to create just about the full span you would need for a wrist. But I need that. I'm keeping the extra leather here so that there's enough leather for it to be adjustable, because I have to put a knot at the end of this to keep it from sliding out of the silicone area. So we are going to start with barrel knots. I'm going to use this barrel knot tube that has a 2.5mm hole in it. I prefer the straight ones like this. If you're not good at this, there are people that use straws. There's also this knotting tool that you can get off of Amazon for $6 or $7 that has a little concavity there. So just for example's sake, when I'm going around with my leather and I need the leather to go under these other parts of the leather, I can simply put the piece of leather down and it comes out the other side. I learned using the tube, so that's what I'm going to use today. But if you would like me to show you how to do it with the other tool and to leave a link for it, either within the Beading Besties community or just in maybe a short to show you the difference, I'm more than happy to do so. So like I said, I'm going to pull down enough leather, it's about 5 to 6 inches, to give me enough to cross over to create the adjustability. And I'm going to then do the barrel knot with the lighter tone of leather. I'm going to put the barrel tube over both strands of leather. I'm going to pull the lighter one up under the tube and the other piece, and I'm going to bring it over once, and then I'm going to bring it over twice, going towards my left hand. Now, a traditional barrel knot, you're going to go a third time. Because of the knot I'm using, I'm only going to do a 2-turn barrel knot. And that's because this looks very much like the alternating hitch knot. So I want to do that so we can disguise the beginning and the ending of the bracelet a little bit. But once we have gone around twice, you're just going to put your leather in the tube until it just pokes out and then take it out there. Otherwise, you're pulling this all the way out and then still having to pull this off at the end, thereby doing the process twice. So this is where we are. We're going to need to get that leather down, and you're going to tighten it using the same light piece of leather. If you pull on this one, it's obviously just going to slide up and down that leather. So you're just going to pull it tight. You don't want to pull so hard that it stresses the leather or creates any issues for you. And then the way that I like to secure my knot is I like to use flag pins. And if I'm using cotton or nylon, I go ahead and just puncture through the cord. But as this is leather, I'm just going to stick it underneath this knot and push it into my board underneath here, which are fork tiles that are stacked and glued together. And then I covered them with an upholstery grade fabric. So we're going to do that. Because we're trying to disguise that the barrel knot is not just another one of the alternating hitch knots, we're going to start with the dark leather because you alternate back and forth between the two. So this is the hitch knot. Very easy. You're going to go over the other strand of leather. You're going to go underneath it and up through. When you pull it tight, you want to hold the other strand taut. And then you're going to pull that down. Otherwise, you will essentially get you'll get the same kind of knot that you would get when you're tying your shoes or something. And that's not what we want. I pulled this up so I could get it in place without the flag pin hitting my first knot. So if this was the alternating half hitch knot, you would then grab the lighter brown and go around and tie the next knot. But this is the alternating hitch knot. So we're just going to do exactly what we did one more time. We're going to go over the light colored leather, up, under, and through the loop, and then you're going to slide it into place. Instead of tugging on my leather, I do more of a rolling motion with my thumb to help get it up there so that it is secure but not so tight. There you go. There's the first shot. Sorry. But not so tight that it stretches your leather and or causes any cracks or anything. So now we have the first two knots. So we're going to go over the alternate piece of leather. So we'll take the light cord. We will go over the dark piece of leather, up, under, and through the loop. You're going to hold the dark piece of leather taut as you move that first knot into place. Then you're simply going to do that a second time. You're going to go over. Oops, sorry. Let me push this up so I know where frame is. Sorry. You're going to go over the top, and then you're just going to go under, up, through, and you're going to pull the leather down into place. Again, doing that rolling method to just kind of roll it into place. And now that we have two on that side, we're going to go back to the other side. Once you get used to this and get a really good motion going, I can whip out these bracelets in a matter of minutes, especially if I'm doing it assembly line style, like I'm cutting all of the leather. And then maybe I'm going through and doing all the first barrel knots. And then I go and I just knot the bracelets. And then I go back and I glue the end caps on or do the adjustable part of it like that. It goes even faster. I really love using my macrame skills to make jewelry, and I am a huge fan of using leather in jewelry, and especially in women's leather or with pearls, because I just think that it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship when you marry the feminine pearl with the more masculine leather. And I think it's absolutely beautiful. So, like I said, we're just going to, oops, I forgot to push that back down. So you're just going to continue to finish the knots. And if one isn't looking right to you, feel free to stop, undo it. It's a very easy knot to undo. You just kind of push down with it and it will come right off. So there's no need to use your nail. You don't want to do that. It'll mar your leather and create a weak spot that you're not going to want, especially if it's for a man in your life, just because they tend to be harder on their jewelry than women are. Especially if they're wearing it to work and they maybe don't sit behind a desk all day. And what were you going to say, Heather? And they're sweating and the oil from their skin is going into, or the oil and sweat from their skin is going into it. It's just, my husband doesn't wear jewelry to work. It's not safe to do so, but he does once he gets home. If he's going out and about of the house for any reason, he puts it on, which I appreciate because that just shows me that he likes the jewelry that I make and that, he loves me and wants to support me. So, like I said, I cut 40 inches of both strands from this leather, and I may have cut a little bit too much. But I always use scraps, and I would rather have too much than not enough because it takes more time to then stop, cut new material, and do it a second time rather than just have scraps that I can use in other ways. I have an earring design that I can make with as little as 3 inches of a piece of leather. So scraps go a long way. But obviously by the end of this tutorial, we'll see if I did indeed pull off way too much leather. So we're just going to keep knotting until we get the desired length. And that desired length for me with men's jewelry is 7 inches because we still have to do the barrel knot and then we have the adjustable part of it. So once you factor in those knots and everything else, slender men generally have an average wrist size of 7 inches, and then it just kind of goes up from there. And that's why I love making adjustable men's designs, or any designs really, because it takes the guesswork out of it for you. You don't have to worry about knowing absolutely for sure that it's going to work for your customers, which is never good. You don't ever want them to come back and say, oh, it was too big, oh, it was too small, anything like that. It's better off to just do the adjustable version and then they have a piece of jewelry they like and can begin wearing regardless of what size they are. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, sorry. I did not just go through an earthquake. I just hit my camera. Okay, so we are at 6 inches. So I want at least another inch of knots, which we have the leather to do. So we're good. We're going to come to the other side and just continue the knots. It will probably be, I should only have to do 3 passes of it down here at the bottom. Then I'm going to end with the dark leather since we will be doing the barrel knot in the lighter leather. And I did indeed cut way too much leather. So this is probably would have been enough leather to make a knot. Oh, I'm only at 6.5 inches. All right, I'm going to do one more pass with the lighter leather. Sorry, guys. It's hard to keep it all on camera in a distance that you guys can, you guys are still able to see because it's not so tiny on my mat that it's practically invisible. Okay, now that should be just under 7 inches, but I'm going to call that good because I still am going to do another barrel knot down here at the end of it. So I'm simply going to pull that off. I am going to go ahead and grab, I should have showed you, I apologize. There was a gap in the leather right here. So I just pulled on the darker brown to pull it through and thus keep it more seamless. And now that it's finished, do you see how this kind of looks like the same knot? That's why I wanted to continue knotting. The other reason why I stopped even at just under is because this is actually a pretty stretchy knot to use. So I would recommend that you go on the sides of it being a little bit smaller at first, because again, as their natural body oils and the wearability goes on, it's going to stretch out a little bit. And again, you don't ever want it to become so stretched out that it no longer fits the man that you made it for. So we are going to grab the barrel knot tube or the metal tube bead. Here it is. That we use, and just like at the top, we're going to create a barrel knot at the end of this using the lighter shade of leather. I can't do it there we go. I was like, how am I going to do this? So we're just going to put the end of the tube on top of the leather a bit so that it makes it easier to pass this through, and also to keep your knot up close so you're not having to move and kind of shimmy and shake your leather up into place. So since we're tying the knot with the lighter reddish brown color, we're going to grab it and pull it up under the barrel knot tube. You're going to go once, grab it. You're going to do it a second time going towards your left hand, not the right. If you go towards the right, it's going to come undone. It's not going to hold. So we're going to grab that. We're going to stick it through the end of the tube. And just like before, as soon as you see it on the other end, you can pull the tube off and then pull the leather down to tighten the knot. So we want this to be positioned to where it looks like it is just the next succession of knot. So we're going to pull it tight and into place without marring it and causing it to get in the way. Isn't that a beautiful color? But the way the different browns just bounce off each other. I also had this natural leather cord, but I hadn't conditioned it with mink oil. So I didn't want to use it because obviously once it's knotted, you're not going to be able to get the mink oil down in all of the reservoirs. Okay, so now that we have our knot there, we can actually go ahead and cut the excess of the reddish brown leather off. When you do so, be very careful not to get that second strand of leather. And then what I like to do to hide that the natural leather color isn't the same color as the tan is I use my thread burner and I let it get hot, and then I just tap it. And you want to tan it, you don't want to burn it, or it will get crunchy and hard, and nobody wants that. You can do the same on the other end, and once we've concluded once we've finished the bracelet, I am going to go ahead and show you guys how I glue my knots. I just don't want those extra pieces or that extra length of cord to be in the way when I'm doing so. But see, doesn't that look so nice? I used to do the Sharpie method, but my youngest son was wearing one, and we live in Arizona, so it's very, very hot here. And he came home, and because he was sweating, the Sharpie came off onto his skin, and he didn't like the look of that. So I changed the way I did it, and that's the way I've done it ever since. On this bracelet, I went ahead and used these clear silicone O beads and went ahead and pulled both colors through both ends and knotted them together. On this one, I'm only going to use the darker brown. And as you see, I have leather left over. But like I said, I will use this to make 2 or 3 pairs of earrings. So I'm okay with all of that. But I do think that I forgot to grab, hold on, sorry. I forgot to grab 2 of the black silicone rings out, and they were behind my laptop where I couldn't grab them without starting to close the lid. So I apologize for that. So what we're going to do, first off, well, I don't want to cut it quite yet because, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting both of the silicone rings onto one side of the leather. Now, I do not like to. Why is this one being difficult? Hello. Please cooperate, sir. Put it at a little angle, see if that helps. It did indeed. Oh my goodness. Now I don't remember what I was saying. I apologize. I have a condition called Durkheim's disease, and it causes memory recall issues. And so sometimes I'll be in the middle of a sentence and completely forget what I was talking about and can't get it back. Even if there was somebody here that could tell me what I said, that doesn't always work. But, anyways, I decided to go with the black on this just so you could see the difference between the two. Oh, I remember what I was saying. I personally do not like opening jump rings more times than is necessary. I think it should be open, attach whatever it is you need to, close it, leave it alone. I don't like to open and close jump rings a lot. I think that it weakens the metal, even if you are doing it the right way and not going this way. Even this back and forth is going to weaken the metal, especially if you're doing it a lot. I feel much the same way about these silicone beads. I don't like to stretch them more than once. I just don't want to hand out a product that has a weak point on it. But this is how we're going to get the other side on. You're just going to put some needle nose pliers into the silicone ring and only stretch it open as far as is necessary to get the other piece of leather on easily. Then I'm going to pull that down so it's out of the way when I go ahead to put the second bead on. I do not suggest trying to get both silicone rings on at the same time. You will have to stretch out the back one further and it will likely cause it to snap, if not immediately, much sooner than it ever should be, even if the gentleman who's wearing your bracelet takes very good care of it. So now that we have it on, it's completely adjustable. It's very easy to do. You can use one of these and put a crimp cover over the top of it. Just make sure that you're using a crimp cover, so it's going to be a large one, that encases the silicone O-ring but does not tighten down on it so far that the leather doesn't slide through easily. There are metal silicone sliders that you can buy that is already a complete circle with silicone in the middle. I will tell you that myself, and I have dexterity issues within my hands, find those harder to use and harder to get both pieces of leather through. Oftentimes I felt like I was using like an 8mm one for 1.5-inch leather to be able to get both strands of the leather to crisscross back and forth. And I didn't like the overall look of it at the end. So I went searching for another way to do it and literally just typed in silicone beads, and these popped up as an option. I ordered some and I have been using them ever since because I love them. So this is what the clear would look like on the brown leather. This is what the black looks like, especially if you're going to be using the darker brown as the cord you pass through. I personally like the black. With this one having the lighter tone, I don't mind this, especially because that's going to be on the under part of the wrist. So it's easy to do. Now I'm going to tell you what I do to glue mine. And are we ready to laugh at Heather for not getting her GS Hypo glue out ahead of time and now not being able to find it? This is kind of there it is. I'm getting better. I knew that it was out. I just couldn't remember where I set it out. So I have it now. I prefer to use GS Hypo whenever I'm gluing leather because it dries rubbery. So it can move with the piece of jewelry you're wearing as you wear it. It doesn't get stuck. It doesn't get hard and crack, thereby ruining the height of the leather as well as the strength of whatever it was gluing in place. Now, a lot of people like to glue the top part of this and then the bottom underneath of this, which there is nothing wrong with that. I, again, someone who wants to have the best, like, the most professional finish I can achieve at home, I pull it out of the lid very close to the knot I'm going to glue. If I can get it to open. There must have been glue that dried in the lid or something, but I don't want to be so rough that the second I take the needle out, it's everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to the underneath of the knot. I'm going to try to pull that cord out. Like I said, I'm going to pull this out as close to the knot as I can. Not that it did me any good because there was indeed glue there. Okay, so I'm going to just pull the glue off, which I shouldn't be doing because I'm allergic to glue. Okay, there. I like to push my needle into the knot and squeeze the knot on the inside. I really shouldn't have done that. And then I'm going to do it again, even though I shouldn't do that. And I'm going to stick my needle in and I'm going to glue it from the inside. And then I'm going to go ahead and, woo, there we go. Not too shabby. Get the little needle into the thing where we should have it. Luckily, this glue doesn't bother my hands as bad as super glue does. So, but it's still, this is from the glue. But this is nothing compared to when I use super glue. So essentially, I just have this knot glued from the inside out. I do have some excess glue right there that I was going to wipe off with those Q-tips I just dropped on the ground. Hold on just 1 second. Sorry about that. I like to wet the end of my Q-tip before I wipe the excess glue off, just so that the excess cotton doesn't stick to it as bad. And I'm just going to wipe off the excess glue on both points because I know that the glue is within the knot and strong. Then to finish this up, you have a couple of options. You can put a bead at the end of it and then tie the knot. You can tie a knot, put a bead, and then tie another knot. Those are all very viable answers or those are all very viable options. I've done them all. For this simple bracelet, I'm going to just do a knot and leave it at that. There are no beads on the top of the bracelet. Therefore, I don't like to put beads on the tail sticking off of them, because if this is the bracelet that they chose, I feel that they would prefer not to have the beads on the ends of the leather. And I know this from asking men, why did you pick this bracelet over that one? Da, 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 da. So I try to get free market research. Now, if you wanted to add beads to this, you could easily add a bead to the piece of leather you're going to be knotting around next, and then knot around the leather. And then if you want all of the beads on one side, you would just continue to do that with maybe one knot in between. If you wanted it to go back and forth, you would just put it on the other, like do a knot, put it on that one side, do a knot, come back to the other side, put it on, and you could alternate it. I had a bracelet with that technique done on it, but I'm not sure where it is. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera so that I can preserve as much of this leather. Well, no, I'll show you guys real quick. It's not difficult. All I'm going to do is pull this in. I'm going to measure out 2.5 inches, because I have found that a 5-inch variance often is the correct one. Now, you can do a barrel knot or you can do an overhand knot. I like to do a barrel knot if I have enough leather. And you can come up higher and then just shimmy the knot down the leather after you've been able to get the leather through it, so that you're not wasting as much leather. Like I said, I like to do it right at about 2.5 inches, because then that allows this 7-inch bracelet to go up to a size 10. If the person you don't like it for doesn't like that length of tails, they can cut off the knot and tie another knot in order to achieve the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the other side. And again, I'm just doing the double wrap barrel knot. The traditional one has at least 3 wraps, but I prefer the look of 2, especially in leather. And I'm weird, because most people prefer the side of the knot that has the nice, neat lines, perfect lines. I like the way it crisscrosses in the back on a double wrap. I hope you can see that. I mean, with the ruler and the glue. If there are words, that's what my camera tries to focus on. See how on this side it's straight lines, on this side it crisscrosses? I love the look of that. Now, just like the other knots that I just glued, I'm going to glue these in the exact same fashion. I'm just not going to open the glue again tonight, because, yeah, I don't need to do that. But anyways, you can use a variety of different colors of leather to do this bracelet. You don't even have to use leather to do this bracelet, as I will show you. I did this one. It's being glued right now, but I did this one using hemp. And again, it's just a very natural, simple bracelet. Again, you could also, like, this would look awesome with some small silver ball spacers on it. It would look great. I love this Marina blue with the gray. It's very nice. I used Becky Foster's method of making a sliding knot, where she uses the strands that you can adjust where the knot is, as the slider and then uses like just cuts off, or she makes a little knot at the end of these so they can't go through, or like I did, I glued them. So I can cut this off now, the glue is dry. But that's another way of doing this. And I'll probably do a bracelet showing that technique, so that you guys have another way to in your wheelhouse on how to make adjustable bracelets. But these are great little beachy anklets you can make, even. And if they're adjustable, you can get it up over your foot or your heel, which is the hardest part. And then tie it into place. You can put little seashells on it, whatever. That would look amazing. Like I said, here I just this is a barrel knot, and because I'm going to slide it back and forth, I couldn't go inside of the knot to glue it into place because then it would no longer be adjustable. So instead, because this is a natural product, my option was to glue this off. But just in case, I'm also going to go ahead and tie a little overhand knot right where this is, all the way down, just in case that, well, what just happened happens. So I don't know why I didn't think to just do the knot earlier. I should have, but that's okay. It's getting used now, and it didn't make or break the bracelet. I should have just done that. I'm sure my hand wishes I would have done that because I used glue. But there is glue in the knot right there, so it's good to go. So literally all you do is slide this back and forth and you have an adjustable bracelet. Hemp does take a little bit more to relax because while it's stiffer than cotton, it's not so stiff that it doesn't roll as you're knotting. It's really difficult to try to keep it straight. And I have found the more I try to keep it straight, the curlier it ends up getting. So just know that this will calm down as your natural skin oils and such get in and moisturize the hemp, the natural fibers. So love these. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys are enjoying the 28 days of men's jewelry challenge. I am going to release some other videos. So I'm not just doing solely men's jewelry, but I am filling in for Randy over at Thunder Horse Descendants. She is moving from Minnesota to North Dakota. So I am subbing for her for morning coffee the Thursday and Friday at the end of the month, and then the full following week at the beginning of June. So I will be doing other designs during that time period. I don't know when you'll be seeing this, but tomorrow morning, Rosanna Bradford from In Rose's Garden and I are going to go through the May Bargain Feed Box Companion Bundle together, kind of bounce ideas off of each other and just have fun chit-chatting. So I hope you can all join us, or if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. I had a wonderful time doing this tutorial. If you would please like this video, leave me a comment, and if you're not already subscribed, please do so. Change the notifications to all so that you never miss a video that I release. As always, happy beading, everybody.